Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true. 'Cause I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free. You are strong, you are sure, you are light, you endure, you are good, always true. You are light, breaking through. Oh, here's speak what is true. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Speak what is true. I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure, I have life, I can breathe, I am healed, I am free. 'Cause you are strong, you are sure, you are light, you endure, you are good, always true. You are light, breaking through. You our voices. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my
a nice unified in, together, exhaling into this moment, giving thanks in our own intentions, to be deep within, reflective and contemplative as we enter into this new year together. Renewed hearts, refreshed minds. Let us set an intention to rise higher, to love steadily, forgive readily. With the power of our mind's eye, we remember the ball going down on New Year's Eve and declaring it a new year. And now imagine that that ball of light is rising within you, rising through your chakra system, through your root, to your sacral, into the solar plexus, resting into your heart for a moment. This ball of light, expanding your heart, expanding your capacity for love and compassion. And then allowing that ball of light to move higher through your chakra system into your throat chakra, resting for a moment at your third eye, receptive to all that Source has for you. Higher still into your crown chakra, and into the place of universal unity, where we become one with all our brothers and sisters. We are now illuminated and sharing this light that brings us together in a new year for a new way of being, a new way of seeing, a new way of loving. Together we pray to be instruments of peace, to be compassionate responders to all that occurs within ourselves and within our interactions with others. We spend a moment with the desire to allow our hearts to be servants of the divine. Imagining that we can remove judgment, remove fear, even if just for a moment. Suspending doubt that we are indeed capable of rising higher than ever before, to leaving the past behind, leaving our fears, leaving our judgments, even if just for a moment every day, to go into the holy instant, the holy instant of remembering the truth of who we are. And so we enter into this new year with a dedication to peace and joyfulness, kindness and compassion for ourselves and for one another. Take a nice deep breath together and come into this moment. Happy New Year, 2022. Happy New Year. Happy first Thursday of 2022. It's a sacred day, a holy day. It's wonderful to be together. I was thinking about how we can set our intention for the day, for the new year. And I came across this poem by Hafiz, 12th century poet. But you know, they started attributing things to Rumi and Hafiz, and I don't know if it's really him, but I like it, so I wanted to share it with you. It says, I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy, my heart is too heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance a sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up, and to lift others. O Sacred One, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we all might dance, and that in our dancing we become united, and our dancing and our joy will be contagious. So for all that has occurred these past few years, it's time to just be joyful. It's been heavy. It's been heavy and hard and struggles, and you get to a point where you just have to see it as a story to tell. It's like, oh well, it's a story to tell, all that has occurred. So let's go into 2022 with an attitude of joyfulness, to be able to wake up and be grateful, and to focus on what we're grateful for, and to find joy in our hearts, to find joy in our connections with one another, to be happy for what it is that we do have, in spite of what we may have lost, and in spite of any restrictions that remain on us because of all the stuff that has happened these past few years. The end of chapter 13 of the text says, "So will the year begin in joy and freedom. There is much to do, and we have been long delayed. Accept the holy instant as this new year is born, and take your place so long left unfulfilled in the great awakening. Make this year different by making it all the same, and let all your relationships be made holy. This is our will. Amen." So what does it mean to make it different by making it all the same? It's very clear in the course that when we get to our lessons, that everything that we apply as a lesson should be applied without exception. So in that case, we're making everything the same. Every time we learn a new lesson, it's a lesson to learn and to apply to everything and every circumstance and every person without making one different. It's not like, well, this is a really great idea for everybody except that one person I really don't want to forgive. And for every circumstance except for that one story that I'm holding on to. So to make it all the same means that all the lessons that we have to learn have to be learned universally and applied universally, applied to all things and all people. So that's what it means. So we want to make it all the same. We want to apply our lessons regardless of what our ego says about how it should be put aside until it's rectified the way we want it to be. This is the work that we're doing. This is the ego's struggle, is to hold on to its story. And so this year, if we're going to be joyful, if we're going to experience peace, we're going to apply the lessons all the same to everyone so that we break through our own resistance. And as we break through our resistance, we start noticing that when we are not attached to the outcome, that we can be at peace regardless. And there's a very early in the text, in the very beginning, it says there is no order of difficulty to miracles, that they're all the same. But we think, well, no, like this thing is a miracle because it's like the healing of Our Lady of Lourdes, and it's like, wow. But we don't realize that a miracle could be as simple as the shifting of our consciousness. That the harsh feelings that I had have now softened, that my heart has softened, and that's the miracle. I was remembering the other day, I don't know, Pam, if you know this is kind of an old story. Something that occurred to me and happened to me. Is I was walking, not far from here, I was walking, I had a friend who lived over on the other side. Remember Miami, Tamarack Lakes. I was walking from a friend's house, and on my way back, I noticed a car sort of spinning. It was spinning out of control, and it seemed to be coming right toward me. And as it was getting closer to me, I took like this leap to get away from the car. And when I like sort of came up from the leap, I was a whole section of road away from the car. It was like there was a road, it was where the car was aiming, there was a road, and then there was me on the other side. And the guys came out of the car and they looked at me and I looked at them, and we all just sort of looked sort of shocked at each other. And then there was another car coming up at the road where I had landed, And there was a young lady driving. And she rolled down the window. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me. I looked at her. I looked back at the guys. And I said, "Was that a miracle?" And she said, "Yes, it was." And she drove away. And I thought, this is like the scene from Touched by an Angel. Remember that show? And I thought, was that an angel? Like, was this a miracle? Was that an angel? Was this a miracle? And that was an angel? And I was just like, wow, I don't know what just happened, but it was definitely like a suspension of time and space. So finally, I finished walking and I get to my friend's house and I'm telling her the story. And she says, "Where exactly did that happen?" And I said, "It was like 4 blocks from here." She says, "Get in the car. I want to go see." So we get in the car and we drive back and we pull up into the block, which was the inside of where I was standing. And there was a house on the corner with a statue of the Virgin Mary, like the old-fashioned Lady in Blue Virgin Mary standing there. She goes, "I had a feeling when you told me that it was this house." And this was not long after my dad died, and he loved the Virgin Mary, the one in blue. We call it in Spanish La Milagrosa, the one in blue with her hands out. And there she was right on the corner. That's like a big miracle, right? We can say that's a big miracle. I mean, we can identify it. We can say this thing happened, and it was miraculous. But we don't often see the little miracles that occur, the miraculousness of the heart, the miraculousness of the shifting, the miraculousness of the inner growth that can occur when we notice that we no longer harbor harsh and hard feelings for another. When we have the expansion of our hearts to allow for the feeling of forgiveness to truly soften us. That's also miraculous. But it's not quantifiable. We can't identify it and say, "Hey, my heart just softened," and that's a miracle. Because as of yesterday, I wasn't feeling loving. So these are the miracles that the Course is asking us to open our eyes to and to recognize that at any given time and any given day, you can take a flying leap and be saved from an oncoming crash, or you can simply feel loving. And that is just as dynamic and just as important for our soul's growth to have that experience. And then it says that may all our relationships be holy. Now what that means is that maybe we can see everyone, regardless of what their true identified label relationship is with us, that we can see them as beloved, that we can see them as someone that we can not use for our ego satisfaction or gratification, but as someone who assists us in our spiritual growth as we move through our paths. Big miracles, small miracles. I saw this quote by Helen Keller that I wanted to share with you. She says, "I long to accomplish great and noble tasks, but it is my duty to accomplish humble tasks as though they were great and noble." So those small shifts in consciousness, those small shifts of our hearts, those indeed can be great, noble tasks. I'll repeat it. I long to accomplish great and noble tasks, but it is my duty to accomplish humble tasks as though they were great and noble. And that can be every day. That can be every day of our life, every moment of our life. That's a choice. We make that decision if that's how we want to do it. And so we begin again. It's a new year. I want to read the introduction to the workbook. There's no challenges this year. It's not about the textbook. It's not about the workbook. It's just about whatever we do from week to week, whatever we decide we want to talk about. But the introduction of the workbook is something that really helps us recognize the importance of having established a foundation. So remember, the text came first. So we're saying there was this theoretical foundation that took place. The more metaphysical concepts that were presented to us in the text. And we read the text just last year. All 31 chapters. This is the introduction to the workbook, and if you have the FIP edition, it's immediately following the text, which is 669, page 669, and then you have the table of contents for the workbook. It says a theoretical foundation, such as the text, which we just completed, provided a necessary framework to make the exercises in this workbook meaningful. So if you were with me last week, what I was saying was that if you just pick up the workbook and start it, it may not make sense, especially these foundational beginnings, right? These foundational beginnings, which is why people say, I don't like this book, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you start with the workbook and you haven't had the theoretical foundation that's provided with the text, it may be hard to make any sense of it. So it's saying that theoretical foundation is necessary to begin. Yet it is in doing the exercises that make the goal of the course possible. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. It is the purpose of this workbook to train your mind to think along the lines that the text set forth. The exercises are very simple. They do not require a great deal of time, and it does not matter where you do them. They need no preparation. The training period is 1 year. Or, if you're like me, like 35 years. The exercises are numbered from 1 to 365. Do not undertake to do more than one exercise a day. So we're up to 6. Today's January 6th. Day of the Epiphany. The Day of the Kings, 3 Kings. Dia de Reyes, we say in Spanish. What is that day? It's about following the light. This great light. They call it the northern light in Christian scripture. But do you know that every great religion has a great light, the following light? And still in Buddhism to this day, there are people who follow a path to find the next Buddha. It takes years, you know. There are people whose lifetime dedication is to find, that's how the Dalai Lama was found when he was 2 years old, to find the next leader. But metaphysically, we think of that great light as being within us, following the great light within us. And the introduction is telling us that the foundation was provided, and now it's up to us to find it within ourselves to follow that light. This is a great light. So we start day by day by day. We decide how much time and energy we want to put into each lesson. We're up to lesson 6 today. We'll talk more about that later. It says that the workbook is divided into 2 main sections. The first dealing with the undoing of the way you see now, and the second with the acquisition of true perception. So that's why the first part is a little bit difficult for many of us, because it's challenging our perceptions. It's challenging our ego. And so when it says something like, nothing I see in this room means anything, we say, well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. I have meaning. I've assigned meaning. But then it goes on to tell us that we're the only ones who assigned that meaning. We're the ones who decided what things are called. We're the ones who decided what they're supposed to do and why. And as we break down that thought system, we start to realize that it is just temporary attachments that we have that ultimately don't mean anything. And so we're trying to get to a deeper sense of connection with Source, with ourselves, with our understanding of what we're here to do. So what we're here to do has nothing to do with what's around us. If I'm going to learn to forgive, it doesn't matter if I have a little bit of stuff or a lot of stuff. If I have a little house or a big house. I can have all that stuff. I can have a great job, great car, great people in my life. Or I can have none of it. But I still have the same task. I still have the same spiritual job to do. And as I move in the direction of the work, of the task, of the dedication, of offering my heart, offering my life, then it starts being less and less important to me what all the details are around me. So that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to break down all those attachments we have. And then the second part is kind of like, okay, I've broken down my attachments, and now I'm learning to see differently, and I can start to apply the lessons of forgiveness and of seeing each one of us, each one of ourselves as the brother and the sister who provides the opportunity to move toward a place of salvation. Because I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. I need the other. I need others to be a reflection of what it is that I need to know, where I need to go deeper within myself. So it's to train our minds in a systematic way to a different perception of everyone and everything in the world. The exercises are planned to help you generalize the lessons so that you will understand that each of them is equally applicable to everyone and everything. That's why it says this year will make this year different by making everything the same. Apply everything equally, unequivocally. So let's go to paragraph 6. The only general rules to be observed throughout then are, first, that the exercises be practiced with great specificity as they are indicated. So it depends on where you are, whatever lesson you are, you read the lesson and you do as you're told. Simple as that. This will help you generalize the ideas involved to every situation in which you find yourself and to everyone and everything in it. Second, be sure that you do not decide for yourself that there are some people, situations, or things to which the ideas are not applicable. We do that though, right? I mean, it's almost automatic. Like we just, oh, well, no, I don't want to, I'm still not happy with that one, so maybe I can reserve this lesson for another day. And say, don't do that. It's kind of like, I got your number. I know you're going to do that. This big brother we have here knows us. This, to make these exceptions will interfere with the transfer of training. The very nature of this true perception is that it has no limits. It is the opposite of the way you see now. So true, right? I mean, we just see things the way we see them, and it might be very different from one to the other. I mean, you and I could be sitting down, having a conversation about how we see something. I was telling somebody something one day about a conversation I was having with someone, and I actually thought the person was very nice in what they were saying. But when I was telling my friend, they were like, "Oh, why did he say that?" And he was insulting, and I was like, "How did you hear that?" Like we heard two very different things of one story. And so it showed me how important it is for us to understand our own perceptions, to be self-aware of how it is we're interpreting things. And so if we're going to interpret them in a way that allows us to see everything equally, everything as an opportunity to be a blessing, and everything as an opportunity to see ourselves better, then we can't make those exceptions. And so when we find ourselves having conversations where we're starting to criticize and point out what's wrong of what somebody else did, we have to take a moment to just go, wait a minute. What's that say about me? What is that really saying about me? And what is really going on with me in this moment? And sometimes it is a reflection of something that just needs healing. You know, so like if you're talking about a murderer, it doesn't mean that you're a murderer. And people say that all the time. Well, you know, I'm condemning a murderer. Can I do it? Well, yeah. We're not saying you're a murderer. You know, we're saying that there's something within you that still needs healing. That's being activated. That's judging. That's upset. There's this great book that we needed to read in seminary, and it was called The 10 Challenges. And what it did was it took every commandment from the Judeo-Christian tradition, the 10 commandments, and it turned it into challenges. So it helped you to see it differently. So for instance, I'll give you an example. When it talked about murder, it said it's not about, in this case, from the metaphysical perspective, it's not about actually killing someone. It's about maybe hurting their spirit, maybe killing their spirit. You know, to verbally abuse someone, or for a parent to verbally traumatize emotionally a child is a form of murder. We don't think of it that way. It's a form of hurting, killing, destroying. I heard some guys on Oprah once, back in the day. Remember at 4 o'clock, you just watch Oprah. She had such great stuff. This is before Super Soul Sunday, good old-fashioned Oprah shows. And she had guys on there who were convicted rapists, pedophiles. And they were supposedly reformed, and they were going around teaching other people about the destruction of children's lives. And there was one guy who said that. He said, I didn't kill these children, but I killed their spirits. I killed their childhoods. And it was so accurate, you know, to recognize that even though the languaging might be very extreme, that we have to see within ourselves what it is, the damage that we may have done or that we're doing to another person. So whenever we criticize, that got heavy, didn't it? Whenever we criticize someone, whenever we hurt someone, even if it's just through gossip, through upset, we still have that opportunity to look at ourselves. Something as simple as like Reverend Stephanie buying a car. Remember when she was buying a car? She came to class and she was so upset because she had an argument with the salesperson. And she was so upset. And we were like in class going, why are you so upset? Like she was like really upset. And finally it was like, because whatever he activated within you has not been healed. It's really not about the salesperson. It's whatever is in you that was triggered by his aggression, by the way he spoke to you. And when that gets healed, you're going to go back there and his attitude won't matter to you. And so if we apply these lessons equally to everyone in every situation, and we find ourselves being able to go through them peacefully and without being triggered within ourselves, then it will allow us to ultimately find joy and peace within ourselves without being activated by outside circumstances. Does that mean that we're not going to feel sad if something sad happens? Yes, we feel sad. If something upset, you get upset, but let it be moving through you. It can move through you. It doesn't have to identify you. It can be a moment in time that you learn from, that you grow from, that you find transition within yourself. You find your heart shifting instead of getting stuck. We have so many opportunities to get stuck. And we have just as many opportunities to get unstuck as we do to get stuck. So every time we get stuck in an emotion, we can apply self-compassion, kindness to ourselves, and recognize the goal of finding peace. I want to wake up tomorrow and be joyful. Am I going to wake up tomorrow and be joyful if today I'm stuck in my upset?
7:35.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. The overall overall aim of these exercises is to increase your ability to extend the ideas you will be practicing to include everything and anything. Some of the ideas, now this is interesting. Some of the ideas that presented you will find hard to believe, and others you might even find quite startling. This doesn't matter. You're merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do. You're not asked to judge them at all. You're asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. Remember only this. You need not believe it. You need not accept it. You need not even welcome it. Some of them you may find yourself actively resisting. Some of this will matter or decrease. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains and whatever your reactions to them might be. Nothing more than that is required. So think of it this way. It's like getting a personal trainer. You have a personal trainer, right? So you go to the gym, you get a personal trainer, and the personal trainer says, you know, in order for you to achieve your goal, it's going to take 6 months of a specific regimen. The regimen is going to include work on your lower body, your core, your upper body, your mental state. And you're saying, I don't want to do any of that. Oh, you might even have to change your diet. And you're like, no, I'm resistant to that. But then you make a dedication, you make a commitment, you say, okay, I can do this for a few months. So you do it for a few months, and then you start seeing the change. You may not have believed in it, you may have been resistant to it, you may have found it quite startling, but in the end you find that it's effective. It's like a yoga pose, right? The warrior pose. You know, you go into the warrior pose and the teacher says, no, go deeper. And you're like, I can't. And then next week you go back and next thing you know, you're going deeper and you're going deeper. And next thing you know after that, you feel like a warrior because you've achieved through persistence, through patience, through endurance, through willingness. And then you find that it makes sense, that it all made sense. And you've arrived at a place that you did not know you could get to. And now you're there. Same thing with our spiritual lessons. Same things with our dedication today to start anew with some foundational learning. So I'm just going to do 2 real quick. Just lessons 2 and 3. Well, maybe 2, 3, and 5 if we have time. We don't have that much time. Number 2 says, I have given everything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning it has for me. Number 3 says, I don't understand anything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place. One lesson follows the other. Because on the first hand, it's saying, I've given it all the meaning it has for me. And then it says, I don't understand. I don't understand the meaning. Because ultimately, we don't know what any of this is for. We don't know really what it is all for if we get attached to the meaning that we have for it. But if we release the meaning we have for it, then we can start understanding that it's all opportunity. It's all opportunity for us to interact in a way that allows us to be a blessing. To be a blessing, receive a blessing, give a blessing. It's all a cycle of giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. So if we don't get too caught up on our decision of what things should be or how they should be, it seems less and less an enticement to be attached to things. You know, I just find lately when I'm talking to someone and they have that this is how it has to be sort of attitude, I just find myself sort of fading away in my mind because there is no way it has to be when it comes to worldly things. What has to be is my own spiritual growth, regardless of all this stuff. It's nice to have the creature comforts, but it's even nicer to have peace in our hearts. Lesson number 5 is the one that says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. And this is one that we can go back to time and time again, throughout the year, throughout our lives. It's like whenever you have an upset and you start getting attached to the outcome that you want for that upset, ask yourself to see it differently. Ask the higher holy self to help you see it differently. Because we're never upset for the reason we think. We're upset only because we're upsettable. We're upset because something hasn't been healed within us. Not because the neighbor said something rude. Or because somebody cut us off on the street. It's never upset. We're never upset for the reason we think. It's something deeper. And it's up to us to dig deeper. To dig deeper with compassion, self-compassion, and kindness, and determination, and willingness. To move forward in peace, with compassion, with kindness, and with the idea that tomorrow morning, I want to be joyful. I want to start my day joyful. I want to dance like Hafiz tells me to, the sacred dance of life. I'm not going to get to that if I'm stuck in my upset and with my judgments, my determination of how things should be. So this year, we're going to go again, hand in hand, heart to heart, soul to soul, mighty companions, kindred spirits, walking through our ups and our downs, our bumpy road, the bumpy road to enlightenment, knowing that what we ultimately want is to be at peace. And we're going to find it together. Let's find it together. By following the light that is within us. By offering our hearts to one another and to spirit to guidance, to the holy instances, to the holy relationships. Let's make all our relationships holy. All of them. You know, every day at 12 through all of 2020, I was working in a nursing home. And for all of 2020 and for more than half of 2021, up until October of 2021 when I left the nursing home, every day at 12 o'clock, I would stop what I was doing and make an announcement on the loudspeaker that it was time for prayer partners to come together. And nurses and doctors sometimes and patients, we'd all meet at the nurses' station, and I'd play a piece of music, and we would spend the duration of that song in prayer. And we would pray for all the heroes of COVID, all the healthcare workers, all the people who were suffering and their families. Every day. It's probably the one thing, you were asking me earlier if I miss my work, and I think that's the thing I miss the most, was praying with people and coming together every day at 12, and I would make an announcement and people would come together. And one of the things that I loved so much was opening my eyes and seeing everybody with their heads bowed, praying and singing, sometimes with their hands raised, sometimes praying over the song. It was powerful, it was beautiful. And one of the songs that I played over and over and over again was The Blessing. And I've probably sent you every version of The Blessing that exists. There was the English version that was originally done. There was a Rastafarian version. There was a South African version. And then there were different Zoom versions that people would do, like New York City churches. It was just all over all these different versions. And I loved them all. And I played them all for you. And I sent them all to you. And I posted them all. Well, today I found another one. Yet another one. And this one is in Spanish. And the reason I want to play this one today especially is for my culture, because today is the Day of the Kings, Dia de Reyes, the reminder of the light that is within us. So even if you don't understand the words, if you heard the 100 versions that I've sent you already, it's the song, The Lord Bless You and Keep You, May His Face Shine Upon You. The blessing. So enjoy this. Stay for the end prayer. The end prayer is the gospel according to Betty White, who we lost this week, and who we all love and adore and know that she is a blessing. She's a blessing to all of us as she rests in peace. So I think I may have gone a little bit too far in this, so let's listen. Please enjoy this. Everybody take a nice deep breath. Take a nice deep breath where you are. Let's all make a dedication together, brothers and sisters on this path. Let's make a dedication to be a joyful conduit of peace this year. Regardless of 2020, regardless of 2021, regardless of all the struggles and the challenges and the political strife, let's just be joy. And we can be joy by finding peace. We can find peace by applying our spiritual practices to everything and everyone, and seeing everything as an opportunity to be a blessing and to receive a blessing. Oh, every version of that is amazing. So let's end with this. This is what Betty White told us. She said, don't become a professional mourner. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help others. Replay the good times and be grateful for the years you have. So thank you, Betty White. Thank you for all your years that you've given us. And God bless you. See you next week.